What's good people, and welcome to the Silly, Nerdy, Sometimes Wordy podcast, and I'm your host, BK, and this is episode 38, 2024 NFL Coaching Hires, A Fan's Perspective, Part 2, Carolina Panthers. In this episode, I will be continuing my coverage of the recent NFL head coaching cycle, this time focusing on the Carolina Panthers and their new head coach, what he's walking into from my perspective, and also some sports Black history with the nerdy notes. What's going on, everybody? I hope you are all doing very well as we continue to roll on in the month of February. And let's just get right into the nerdy notes. And in the nerdy notes, I'm going to do some Black history since it is February. Although I will say Black history things happen all year round. Things have been invented and created and done, not only in the month of February, but I move on. So it is Black History Month, and since the Super Bowl is in February, it has been for a long time now since it changed to February from January. The Super Bowl, like I said, it's in February, and there are only currently 2 Super Bowl winning head coaches that are African American. The first was Tony Dungy. He did it in 2007 for the 2006 season in Super Bowl 41, which happened to be Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears. Sorry, Bears fans. If you remember that particular Super Bowl, that was the first Super Bowl that opened with a kickoff return for a touchdown, which never happened before, but Devin Hester returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown in the Super Bowl era. Unfortunately, the Bears did lose that game. However, Devin Hester is going into the Hall of Fame this year, so congrats to him. The other head coach that is African American that has won a Super Bowl is head coach Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He won in 2009 for the 2008 season in Super Bowl 43. And one main thing, if you remember from that game, was the 100-yard pick six by linebacker James Harrison. That was a long run. That was a memorable play in that game for Steelers fans. The other 2, there are some other African-American head coaches that have made the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they lost. But let's talk about them for a little bit. Lovie Smith, he was the head coach of that Chicago Bears team that lost in Super Bowl 41. Also, Jim Caldwell, he took over for Tony Dungy, got the Colts to Super Bowl 42, and they lost to the Saints. And if you remember, in that particular Super Bowl, I believe that was the first time, I believe they had an onside kick, the Saints did, which was surprising, surprised everyone. The Saints ultimately won that game. Let's get into our main topic. And our main topic is now focusing in on the Carolina Panthers and their new head coach, Dave Canales. He is Latino. The news broke about his hiring on January 25th. And the introductory press conference happened a couple of days later. About his coaching background, he first started coaching his high school alma mater team. He was the offensive coordinator for Carson High School, coaching freshman and sophomore. He then went on to USC for one season. He was the assistant coach. He was an assistant at USC. That was back when Pete Carroll was at USC winning all those national championships when Pete Carroll was the head coach. Then, obviously, we all know that Pete Carroll went on to become the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Dave Canales went to the Seattle Seahawks and ultimately spent 13 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks. And he started out as a quality control coach. Then he went on to become a QB coach, then pass game coordinator. So he worked with Russell Wilson during that time, winning the Super Bowl 48. And he also worked with Geno Smith recently. And then, of course, this past season, he was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Baker Mayfield's resurgence and turnaround looks like he will most likely maybe has a chance to stay and continue to be the quarterback for the Buccaneers. But he's worked with Baker Mayfield, and you see, like I said, what he's been able to do this past season. So he now becomes the head coach for the Carolina Panthers moving forward. Hopefully this one sticks. And what is he walking into? He is walking into a team that needs a lot of work. Obviously, they do not have a first-round pick this season because they made the trade last season with the Chicago Bears to move up to draft Bryce Young. So he'll be working with Bryce Young to kind of get him turned around. And they will need to hit on their later round draft picks as well as free agency. They have about $28 million in cap space. Of course, this number is likely to change because the new league year has not yet started, and it will start in early March. So we'll see how much money they will be working with and what they will do in free agency, as well as what they'll do in a draft when April rolls around. Now, the offense definitely does need to improve. Bryce Young had an average of 5.5 yards per attempt. And from what I saw of them playing this year, and I was actually able to attend a Panthers game because they were playing the Green Bay Packers. And they haven't really pushed the ball down the field. It was just kind of dinking and dunking under, 10 yards. They need to push the ball down the field. Obviously, they need some more weapons. Bryce Young, the quarterback, had 2,877 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That needs to improve very much so. They definitely need wide receiver help. I would hope and think that they would potentially bring wide receiver Adam Thielen back. He was Bryce Young's security blanket. He was his favorite target. And they definitely need to bring him back as well as bringing in some others. The number one receiver that they had this year was decent. They definitely need improvement from the offensive line, particularly improvement from their high first-round pick. I believe he was a top 5, top 8 pick a few years ago, Ike Ekwonu out of NC State. He definitely needs to improve as well at the left tackle position. So, yeah, their offense per Pro Football Reference was number 29 overall on defense. They had 11 total turnovers. So I feel like from what I saw, the defense played well. They played tough. They played hard. A lot of effort. But the offense needs to improve dramatically. And I believe the reason Dave Canales was hired was because his work with the previous quarterbacks that he's worked with to improve, to continue Bryce Young's maturation process. So hopefully he will get Bryce Young on the up and up to improve him as well. Obviously, like I said, they need to get more pass catchers for Bryce Young. Hopefully they can find a true number one wideout, a tight end perhaps, and we'll see what they do with the run game. But that is something that definitely needs to improve overall. And also the division that they are in, the NFC South, it is up for grabs. There is no dominant team right now in the NFC South. However, I believe that with the new head coach that the Atlanta Falcons just hired, and I will be going over that team as well, and the weapons that they have, I believe that they will actually utilize those offensive weapons that they have to perhaps get that thing turned around quickly. And I think the Atlanta Falcons will be battling for first place in the NFC South this upcoming season, along with Tampa Bay and New Orleans. We'll see what they do. But yes, the Carolina Panthers do need to improve. We'll see what the new head coach does, but they have a lot of work to do. Hopefully they will get improvement from Bryce Young, and we will see how that goes. So they definitely need improvement both offensively and defensively, particularly with the wide receiver offensive line. They definitely need to improve as well as on the defense and creating more turnovers as well. Okay, that's all I have for now for the Carolina Panthers. We'll see what they do moving forward. I do like what the head coach said in his press conference. I feel good about what he's going to be doing in terms of helping Bryce. So we'll see how he goes. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Please, again, check me out on the Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music. Anywhere you get your podcasts, please check me out. Leave a like and a follow. Subscribe. Tell others about it. Thank you guys for listening, both domestically and internationally. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And until next time, we will talk soon.